And welcome to episode 17 of the Beantown Banter podcast, coming to you on a Monday evening. Joined by Patrick Donnelly, I'm Brady Gardner. Patrick, how are we doing today?
We're good. We're looking forward to the Bruins Canadians tonight.
Yeah, so Bruins Canadians face or puck drop in about an hour here tonight, so we're gonna get this podcast done and then go enjoy that game. But first order of business, of course, is to look back on the AFC divisional round of the playoffs in the NFL, with yesterday's game going quite well for the New England Patriots, finishing with a 41-28 victory over the LA Chargers in a game that saw just about everything go right for the Pats.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly helps when you have big days from Sony Michel, and even though Tom only had one touchdown, he still threw for 348, I believe. And he
343.
threw 343. And it was similar shape, 8 and 3. And he threw the ball a ton still, 34 for 44, I think was his final number. So 44 throws was a lot for a 41-year-old quarterback.
Right. And I think as much as you like to say, oh, you look at Tom and wow, it's playoff Tom, he's back. I think it's more about the people around him than Tom himself, because yes, it did seem like he was kind of staying in the pocket more, wasn't really kind of chucking out of throws as much as he had been towards the end of the regular season. But I think just the guys around him really made that victory. Sony Michel there in the backfield, 129 rush yards, including 3 touchdowns in the first half alone. Great performance from him. And then Julian Edelman on the receiving end of those Tom Brady passes, getting 151 yards receiving, and then of course James White picking up 15 receptions, which I think might be an NFL record in the postseason. Just a lot of contributors there on the offensive end, helping out Tom and showing you really what this offense can be.
Yeah, and it's nice to see Philip Dorsett get involved, especially with that touchdown throw. I think it was like 3 straight targets he had leading up to that play. And they also had, I think Tom would have had more passing touchdowns, but because someone broke free and then they caught up to him. It might have been Dorsett, I think. They had a couple big plays that they just couldn't make it to the end zone on, but they would break free and get some huge gains.
Yeah, and if you really look at it, it's kind of just these are the stats in one half of football, because the game was 35-7 after the first half. The Patriots only tacked on 2 field goals in the second half because they were pretty much just in cruise control at that point. So I think some of these stats are even lower than they potentially could have been.
Yeah.
But I think it's smart of the Patriots to have really taken their foot off the gas there in the second. I know you always preach the 60 minutes of football and all that, but I think when you're in the playoffs and you know that there are big games coming up in the near future, you don't really want to unload all your weapons in one game. They could have really run up the score on the Chargers and kind of flex their muscles with that. But I think they did enough in the first half to prove their dominance, really, and they were able to kind of keep some things in their back pocket, I think, by taking it easy there in the second.
Yeah, exactly. And special teams was really good this week, too, where that muff punt recovery by Albert McClellan.
Yeah.
And Matthew Slater just doing what Matthew Slater does, getting the ball in the one. And I'm just going to segue right into it. Phillip Rivers.
Oh, boy.
This relentless on the referees
Terrible,
all day.
yeah.
And 2 minutes left in the game. It's a 3-score game. And just let it go, man.
Well, yeah, and you can tell with Phillip Rivers, there's more frustration there than just, missed penalty calls, because this is a guy who's 15 years into his career. He's played very well. He should be among the likes of the Breeze and Roethlisberger and all them, but the difference between them and Rivers is that they have the Super Bowl rings and he doesn't. So I think he thought this was finally maybe one of his chances to get into a Super Bowl and maybe try to do some damage there. And all of a sudden he just comes and gets shellacked by Tom Brady once again. So I think it was just a tough day for him and a lot of different reasons, for a lot of reasons.
We don't have to get into this now, but something to think about. Is Phillip Rivers today's Dan Marino?
Oh, that might be a little generous to Rivers in terms of a talent standpoint.
Yeah, in terms of talent, but performance and then always choking.
Well, it's tough to say Rivers choked because his defense let the Patriots put up 5 touchdowns there in the first half. So.
Yeah, but the Patriots scored it right away, and he answers right away, and you have a chance to...
With a blown coverage, though. Kind of a fluky play. Stephon Gilmore, your all-pro cornerback, getting beat on a double move.
Yeah, but you saw right after they tied it, the next series after that, I believe, it was one of Melvin Gordon's first touches of the game, first down right away. And you see, again, the Patriots defense struggle with a dynamic running back. And you saw the big throws from Rivers, which was kind of weird to see because we don't usually see those. And it worked against the defense because they can't defend against that typically, especially with the dynamic receivers the Chargers have. But
Yeah,
there was only those were few and far between. But we saw flashes of what could have happened. Not
yeah, I
saying that
think so.
not
I
saying the
mean,
game was in danger at all, but
yeah, I think the defense got the job done there in the first half with all
yeah,
those kind of, I don't know if it was 3-and-outs, but forcing the Chargers to punt there deep in their own zone and really just shifting the field for the Patriots. And of course, that led to such an offensive explosion in the first half. Second half, Patriots, in general, just kind of taking their foot off the gas, as I mentioned. So that's why you got the 3 touchdowns from the Chargers late in that game. And it felt like they were kind of running down the field every time they got the ball. But, like we said, the Patriots just aren't really kind of in it 100% at that point because the game's already been won. Bill Belichick commented on that in a post-game interview or post-game press conference where he literally said, like, oh, we felt like we had it at that point, which he never says. But yeah, I think, scoreline might be a little skewed in that it probably makes it seem closer than it was. But I know what you're saying about there's the potential for the defense to get beat in some ways. I just think that in the first half they proved that when they're really dialed in, they can be one of the better defenses really that's left in the playoffs.
yeah. My whole point about that whole winding spiel there was the opportunity for them to keep it close after they tied it, and they just didn't.
That's true with the Chargers, yeah. And I think one other aspect of the Patriots that really needs to be mentioned is just the play in the trenches, mostly on the offensive side. You look at those offensive linemen, and really no standout names there, no Pro Bowlers like you saw maybe from the Colts, who had that offensive line like this week. But just the way that they played, and of course a lot of credit probably goes to Dante Scarnecchia, the longtime offensive line coach. But just the way they dominated the likes of Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram, guys who killed the Ravens last week, and now just non-factors because of guys like Marcus Cannon, Shaq Mason. It's crazy the way that the Patriots were able to scheme it so that these fairly no-name offensive linemen were able to take care of superstars like that.
Yeah, they played a lot better than I thought they were going to, especially against Joey Bosa. And one thing to note on the offensive line was like Joe Tooney had yet another holding call.
Well, yeah, that's going to happen.
I mean, it's like every game with this guy, but that's probably one of the least of your concerns. It's just something that kind of annoys you because I've started noticing it. It's always him.
Right.
It's all him or Brown, Malcolm Brown, right? No.
Trent Brown?
Trent Brown. Yeah, Malcolm Brown is defense.
Yeah.
But on the other side of the ball for us, Trey Flowers having his way with the Chargers offensive line.
Well, yeah, and it's been that way all year for Trey Flowers. He's going to get paid this offseason. You just hope that he stays with the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
But he's dominant there. It's just crazy. 2 different Chargers teams showed up, it seemed, between the big win over the Ravens down in Baltimore last week and now lost to the Patriots. But I thought, during the game, and I still think now, I think it was more about the Patriots beating the Chargers than the Chargers losing that game. I think it's just an all-around amazing performance by the Patriots and one that you hope they can replicate next week and potentially beyond.
Yeah, and I'd say it was 2 different Chargers defenses that showed up because the Chargers offense was still anemic in the game against the Ravens.
Especially late, yeah.
Yeah.
Even the door open there for the Ravens. But yeah, I think Patriots just did a great job of exploiting some of those holes in the Charger defense that Baltimore wasn't able to do. So I think it again shows that kind of coaching discrepancy there between kind of the Belichick, McDaniels, Flores trio and then everybody else really. Patriots just able to find the weaknesses and exploit them for what was supposed to be a very close game and making it very lopsided in the end.
Yeah, and one thing I kind of noticed looking at the season stats, like going back to the regular season, was I don't think Julian Edelman got enough credit for how well he played this season.
Really?
Because he had 850 yards, and that's after missing 4 games. If he plays those 4 games, he's well over 1,000.
Yeah.
So I think it was quiet. He had a rocky start too, and then he had those drops early in the last few games. But I think overall he played very well this season after a slow start and missing 4 games.
Yeah, I think he played well, but I don't think he was ever the Julian Edelman of 2 years ago until yesterday. Because yesterday, he's making those catches in tight windows, but then he's turning away from 2 defenders and picking up an extra 7 yards or something.
That's also what he does in playoffs, though.
Right. So I think that's when you see, Julian Edelman 100% really. Because in the regular season, I think he was kind of diving away from hits a little bit more, trying to preserve himself probably, like a lot of the players were, I'm sure. And so I think now that we're in the playoffs, you're really seeing what Edelman can do, and he's making a big difference there in the passing game.
Yeah, exactly.
So looking forward now, of course, no surprise, the Kansas City Chiefs finding themselves in the AFC Championship after destroying the Colts. Would have thought that Indy could have done a little bit better there, especially with how hot they were, but shellacked for the second time today by the Kansas City Chiefs. So Patriots will be heading into Kansas City for the AFC Championship next week. And what are your kind of initial reactions to the Patriots heading to Arrowhead Stadium for the biggest game of their season?
I'm worried because it's an Arrowhead.
I'm worried because it's on the road. I mean, we had trouble at Mile High against the Peyton Manning Broncos teams. Like, I feel like this is going to be that 2.0 kind of.
In Arrowhead, where you don't play well historically.
That's true. Specifically Arrowhead, you've always struggled. So
if it was on the road in like Indy, I'm not worried. But because first of all, that Colts team was a joke we saw, and we wouldn't have to play them on the road. But hypothetically, it just worries me because it's at Arrowhead and the Chiefs play so well at home. Oh well, let's just fill time here, because we see another strong performance from Patrick Mahomes, and the Colts get absolutely dominated on the road. And all right, I just filled space for you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Minor interruption. We're good.
I just saying how we saw the Colts get absolutely dominated, as you said, and that was on the road, and the Chiefs played well at home again.
Well, yeah, and I think that's the danger you face there, but I think there are opportunities for the Patriots to exploit some of the weaknesses in the Chiefs, both because that inexperience, you got Patrick Mahomes. I hate it so much how he's like, oh yeah, I practiced those stupid no-look passes, or like every time it seems like he's running one way, he throws against his body, against the grain, like destined to be intercepted, and oh no, it finds Tyreek Hill, and it's a 60-yard touchdown. There are kind of these things that make Mahomes seem so young and almost seem like he thinks he's above the game a little bit. And I think there are going to be chances for this defense to make plays on Mahomes' kind of mental errors. Then, of course, you get Andy Reid, who's just notorious for mismanaging the clock in the playoffs. So I think you have a chance against him to kind of take advantage of that. So I think there is an opportunity for the Patriots.
Yep. And just looking at the lines going into this game, Patriots are underdogs expected.
First time in 58 games, I think it is, that the Patriots have been underdogs.
Chiefs are 3-point over. Patriots are 3-point underdogs.
Yeah.
Over under is 57.5 points scored, and early ESPN advanced stats win projection is 66.2% chance for Kansas City.
Jeez. Huh. Well, it's tough to tell.
And I agree with what's being said here. I'm sure it was written by Mike Reese. Patriots' best chance to win, run the ball, and keep Mahomes off the field.
Well, definitely. And then on the defensive side, don't allow the big play.
Exactly.
That's what it always is against the Chiefs, and they've struggled with it the last 2 times. But
last 3 times, going back to last season when Alex Smith decided to come out of his check down shell.
That's a good point.
But this is a Patriots team historically, not just this season, that always struggles with big plays through the air.
Yeah. Yep.
So it'll be interesting. And with an aging cornerback on the left or whichever side Jason McCourty plays.
Maybe J.C. Jackson gets some time against Hill. Who knows?
But also an experience. And I don't think J.C. Jackson's the fastest guy either. Neither is Gilmore.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill's just a
can obviously keep up. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe a lot of zones with that, but then again, Hill's great at exploiting zones. So is Travis Kelce. It's kind of pick your poison with that Chiefs defense or offense. I just think the Patriots, just the key for the game for them, you have to start quickly. Because if you get down the way Indy did, what was it, 21-0? Like, no chance. Because you're not going to get Mahomes off the field without scoring 3 times. And so you need to... What?
Oh, no, keep going.
If they score a touchdown, you need to score a touchdown. Or if you start first, you got to get the opening score. Like, you cannot afford to get down by multiple possessions to this team because they're not going to let you back into it.
Yeah, and the Patriots have to control the game and control the clock. In their wins, they've had a possession time average of 32 minutes. In their losses, it's been an average of about 28. So I think if you can just bleed the clock like in the first quarter, Sony Michel ran the ball so many times that the first quarter was gone. It was like 3 possessions.
Mhm.
So you just got to be able to control things from the clock standpoint.
Right, and I think just one last factor to mention, supposedly an Arctic blast coming into Kansas City, as it was
Oh yeah,
described. Uh, Temperatures likely around the teens, if not lower, and then the game time's gonna be after dark there. So, take the temperature down that much because no sunlight. It's gonna be a cold one there. You think that plays into the strength of the Patriots?
it could, but I don't like maybe for just Mahomes
Yeah.
because I mean everyone else on their roster has pretty much been there for winter in Missouri, which
Right.
aren't necessarily warm.
Nope.
So it's saying 15 degrees and sunny on Sunday.
Yeah, and seeing
And
the way they
by
played in the snow, I think they're not too worried about any inclement weather. So,
yeah, by game time it's supposed to be like 12
yeah.
with wind 6, so bring that down to like 9.
It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
So, well, the Patriots in their eighth consecutive AFC Championship, which is nuts. Guarantees in life, death, taxes, and Patriots in the AFC Championship, apparently.
Haha.
Um, but we'll see how that ends up. It's gonna be a good one, and probably the game of the year potentially. We shall see. But moving along into our usual flow here, we'll go with the Boston Bruins next, who are having themselves a pretty decent little streak within the last week. They
Wagon.
Oh, wow, okay, buddy. Slow down
They're
there.
a wagon.
So they beat the Minnesota Wild 4-0 behind a good Tuukka Rask effort in net on Tuesday, followed by a loss to Washington 4-2. Of course, the game I decided to go to here in this 7-game with 6-win streak. Uh, but yeah, the Capitals, you can't beat those guys. So you lost 4-2 to them, and then a big win at Toronto, 3-2, again behind Tuukka Rask. So what's your reaction to these last 3 games here?
Last 3 games, everyone's saying like how they outplayed Washington because they outshot them like 44-19.
Mm,
But I mean, outshooting doesn't necessarily mean outplayed because like we saw this all the time by the end of the Claude Julien era, where the Bruins were outshooting teams, but the shots were coming from like 60 feet out, where the shots mean almost nothing. But I agree, they did play well for the majority of the game. I wouldn't say they completely dominated the Capitals, but first period they played well. Second period they played overall well after it was some dicey play to start things off in the first half of it. And then the third, I mean, it was the push you wanted to see, but it doesn't help when you give up goals 7 seconds after you score to tie things up. It takes the
right.
crowd right out of it. And the one where Bruins brought it to 1-1 and then Ovechkin scores right away to make it 2-1. No chance for Halak on that one. But the Backstrom goal to make it 3-2 from, again, 50 feet out, a little floater that just dipped. And I know those can be difficult to track, but I like,
Gotta
I
have it.
know everyone knows I'm a Tuukka guy, but Tuukka Rask, Yara Halak, Michael Hutchinson, Braden Holtby, you have to have that save.
Yeah,
I don't care who you are. That's a save you have to make.
agreed.
Um, so there's that. And again, I think it's just what was that? The Jacob Vrana breakaway goal. It was
That was
John
the first one, yeah.
John
John Moore
Moore
getting caught forward.
and John Moore and Kevin Miller, I believe, was out there, or Carlo. It's how do you not know he's back there? He was just hanging out there for at least 10 seconds.
Yeah, John Moore, getting so much credit as the safety blanket. He was nowhere to be found there on that breakaway, which is kind of
Yeah.
funny. But
So that might be why it's been the odd man out since McAvoy's been back because he's still scratched tonight.
right, so Charlie McAvoy making his return 2 days ago against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and what'd you see from him in that game?
Good segue. Truthfully, I didn't see much of it because we had a little entertainment at the Downley household,
Oh,
so we had company. So
okay.
I did record
I
the
thought
game.
that was more dramatic than it was gonna
No,
be. Never mind.
we just had company. I recorded the game and I saw some of it and I thought he looked pretty well, pretty good.
Wow.
Wow, sheesh. Um, but it was one play in the first, I think, like 2 shifts before Krejci scored. He jumped up in the play. They had a chance out of it, and then right away using those wheels to get back on D. So I thought overall it was good. I mean, hopefully against Montreal tonight, we get another monster game like he had in Montreal 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago at this point, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
I think
just
just
something.
when it comes to McAvoy, it's just like, oh yeah, it's so encouraging. His first game back, like great, he looks like he's Charlie McAvoy again. But what are we going to be saying in 5 games or 10 games or 15 games? Like, is he still going to be around? Is he going to be an every night player for your defense? Because he hasn't been in all season or really all his career.
Well, he's going to have to be, and so you're going to be part of those people calling him soft, and he's going to be out of
I'm
the
not
league.
saying he's soft. I'm just saying he's struggled to stay on the ice. I think you can't deny that.
Well, if we look at the injuries, it's been irregular heartbeat. All right, there's nothing you can do about that. A concussion, not much you can do about that. And then he blocks.
I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying.
And he blocks a shot, which opens up a cut in his boot of the skate, or something happened where it cut him and it got infected. So
That's
I mean, what can you do about those?
I'm not blaming him at all. I'm just saying this seems like a guy who's just got a lot of
bad luck,
bad juju around him. So you just hope he can stay on the ice because he's important to this team, but he hasn't proven to be able to so far.
Well, I think he'll be okay heading by the season. Here I say that maybe he gets knocked out cold tonight.
Jeez.
But yeah, you certainly hope because he does so much to drive your offense. Because when he's not there, it's really only Torrey Krug on the back end, and McAvoy brings a lot of the same elements in terms of the transition game. He just doesn't shoot nearly as much as Krug, which is so frustrating.
Right.
But there's nothing you can really do about that.
Yeah, but talking about production there offensively, you also have to look at some of the consistencies throughout this win streak, one of which has been that third line, your favorite, the kids line, Donato and Heinen, centered by Forsback and Carlson. How do you think about that?
I mean, they're getting sheltered a lot because they're playing fourth line minutes, and they're getting a lot of offensive zone starts, even though JFK and Heinen are very good defensively. Donato's still a little bit of a liability there. Even though he has been better, which speaks to how bad it was before he went to Providence. And he's finding his confidence with those two. With that, I think he was one of the best players on the ice in the loss to Washington. He was involved. He was shooting. He had 7 shots, career high.
Right.
And they were all good quality shots too. They weren't just throwing it on net from 40 feet, 30 feet. And that goal he had on Crosby, Holtby, was an absolute snipe.
Yeah.
So you just hope they can get it going and find some consistency, especially if you're Danton Heinen, who is still having a sophomore slump for the ages.
Mm-hmm.
But someone who's not getting the glitz and glamour is Sean Corrali.
I was going to mention him next, so nicely done.
I saw on Twitter, I forget who had the story, it might have been Matt Porter, but is it time to give Sean Corrali a chance in the top 6? Absolutely not.
No.
Slow your roll there, Cheech. Absolutely not. Sorry if it's not Matt Porter, but whoever you are that had the story.
Because yeah.
We saw how failed of an experiment it was giving him third line minutes to start the season, and maybe he has evolved into a third liner. Maybe he has, but top 6, not so fast.
Yeah, and if he's doing a job for you there in the fourth line, why would you mess with it? You've struggled to get that fourth line consistent. Now you got Noel Achari making a difference out there. You got, Corrali involved in, seems like nearly every goal. At least he was against Toronto. And then you got Chris Wagner coming up with good chances too. Yeah, so you finally seem to have something going with that fourth line. Why would you mess with it?
He thrives in that spot too. Like going back to last season and when he got moved back down there after the third line didn't work out, he's been very good overall this season. In January, 6 games played, 2 goals, 4 points.
Right.
And not much you can really ask for. And I think he's on pace to, I'm not sure what his total was last season for points. He's on pace for 24 this season. I think he only had 4 last season.
Jeez. Okay.
So he's on. Oh no, he only had 14 last. He had 14 last season. He's on pace for 24. He's going to shatter that.
Yeah, it's still a big jump.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the Bruins this week, pretty busy week, taking on Montreal in just about 45 minutes, and then they'll have Philadelphia on Wednesday, followed by St. Louis on Thursday, back-to-back there, and then New York on Saturday to finish off the 4-game week. Seems like the only real danger here could be the Canadiens. The rest of the teams you should be beating.
Who else do they have besides Philly?
Flyers, Blues, and Rangers.
I wouldn't count out the Rangers. We always, for whatever reason, if it's at home, for whatever reason, we have trouble against the Rangers.
It is a home game. It's a good point.
But one more thing before we move on. I think Tuukka Rask is earning his net back.
Okay, so here we are. We get
So
back to Tuukka
he's
Rask.
starting
Please
again tonight.
go ahead. Victory lap. Go. Yep. Go for
He's
it.
starting again tonight.
Yep. Yeah.
Tuukka
Okay.
Rask, last 5 games. Let me get the stat up here.
Yeah. No.
Well, let me just say, last how many games for Yaro Halaki? His save percentage down to 909, which is, I think, 1 tick above the league average.
Not
League
ideal.
average, by the way, is way down this season, but that's for another day. But Tuukka Rask, last 5 starts, 5-0-0. What's it? A 959 save percentage, I believe, and I can't find the tweet here for the life of me. This is bad radio.
Bad.
But anyways, I think Tuukka Rask has earned his net back.
For
Here
now.
we go.
For now.
Last 5 games, 955 save percentage, 140 goals against, 5-0-0.
Yeah, it's good. So he's
Tuukka's
earned the net back for now. But
Rask
Halak earned the net there before the Winter Classic. You know?
Before the Winter Classic? I mean, Rask is
Okay.
since from his league of absence. Jeez, I can't talk. Coming back from his absence, he's been at I think a 930 clip on the save percentage, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And I think if you take out opening night, it's 926 on the season, or probably 928 now after the game against Toronto. But before against Toronto, if you take out opening night, it was 926, and it was 920 with opening night, which is well above the league average, and I think in the top 12. So he's been playing very well.
Yeah.
Since like the first month.
Just got to sustain it, and hopefully having Halak right there kind of nipping at his heels helps keep him playing at his best.
I think that's what helps, because like before Hudobin last season, there was no way he'd lose a starting job.
Right.
What, Nicholas Svedberg, Jonas Gustafsson going to take that job? Absolutely not.
So do you know who's starting tonight?
Tuukka.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see Cassidy's backing him there. And then, of course, we'll probably see Halak there on Wednesday against the lowly Flyers.
Exactly.
So, opportunity for him to get his confidence back a little bit. But, yeah, definitely games to be won here for the Bruins, especially the way that they're playing. And making their climb gradually up the Atlantic Division. Still third, but catching a little bit, at least on the Maple Leafs there.
Yeah, and since the game against Buffalo that they won 3-2 in OT, this is including the Winter Classic, this is Tuukka's 6th start in the last 8 games for the Bruins, I believe. Calgary and Washington were the only ones Halak has started.
Yep. Huh.
He's got the net back. Nobody's talking about it.
He has for now, but you gotta keep it. Alrighty. Well, anyway, surprised we got you off the topic of Tuukka Rask that quickly. Man, usually a 20-minute rant.
It's a positive note. It's not often we have positivity.
That's a good point. All right.
We have negativity. I can't just enjoy a good game from both goalies. We always have to argue about everything.
Jeez. Okay.
Honestly, being a Bruins fan sucks. If you're a Tuukka fan.
Well, yeah. I mean, what can you do?
He's not Tim Thomas. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what you want. He's not Tim Thomas, but let's move on.
Alrighty. Well,
He's not April to June 2011 Tim Thomas.
I've poked the bear.
He's not 3-month Tim Thomas. That's all I got.
Alrighty. Moving on. The Boston Celtics had a up and down week, starting off with a victory over the Brooklyn Nets. Not saying too much there. And then beating the Pacers in a very impressive victory, perhaps their most impressive of the season, 135-108 on Wednesday. Then it got ugly, losing to the Heat in Miami the very next night, 115-99. And then falling Saturday to the Orlando Magic, 105-103. So right when you think the Celtics are getting back into it, they've won 5 of their last 6. They go and lose 2 straight to beatable teams.
Yeah, they won 4 straight. They won 7 of their last 9. And then they get embarrassed by Miami. Yep. And they made it close in the third quarter. It was, I think, a 2-score game in the third quarter. And then Rozier has a massive miss in a turnover. And then Miami's game again. Yeah. And then I didn't watch the game in Orlando, but from all accounts, looking at the stat sheet and the scoreboard, a heartbreaker. But let's get to. I think we can just. Well, we see in the Miami loss, Jaylen Brown and Marcus Morris shoving,
Yeah.
and then we see against Orlando after the game, Kyrie Irving coming out saying this team doesn't know what it takes to be a championship-winning game, and like they
Yeah.
think it's like this now. Wait till we're trying to get to the finals.
And they said he was sitting in his locker just staring at a blank wall in his uniform once that everybody else had already left. So,
I'd be pissed if I was Kyrie Irving.
oh my gosh.
But
Yeah.
So a couple things on that. One, I think he's right. I don't think they have any accountability in that room. And it's good for him for saying something. Was it the right way to go about doing it and saying it to the media rather than in-house? That's certainly something to say, especially a way to question if that was the right way to do it when this team has proven for a couple games, like before you came back, that they were doing A-okay without you several times last season and now. So it's a little food for thought on both sides there. I mean, I see where he's coming from. I think it needed to be said, but going to the media and saying that was for another day.
Yeah. I mean, Kyrie always has his moments with the media. Seems like he's kind of let something slip there, but that's just the problem with this team. It's just so many different directions, so many guys pulling it in so many different directions. But, on a little bit more of a positive note, I think that game against Indiana really showed you what this team could be because you had Morris going, you had Tatum, Brown, Hayward. Like, everybody seemed to be going. And then the very next night against Miami, they're all cold.
And that win streak, Brown was on fire.
Yeah.
And
like
now
we're
right back to square one.
Right. Actually, during that win streak, you had 4 different top point scorers with Hayward getting his 35 against Minnesota, Brown with 21 against Dallas, Irving 17 against Brooklyn, and then Morris 22 against the Pacers. So you were spreading the ball, you were getting, good possessions and using the entire shot clock, and it looked like this is finally the Celtics we wanted to see. And then they put up these duds, and it's all back to square one.
Yeah, and that win streak, aside from Brown and the one game from Hayward, I think overall Hayward was much better. He was averaging around 14, 15, which is what he's been at for his career. And Rozier was finally doing something, and now here we are.
Yeah, not pretty. So, Celtics now have to look to rebound. Joke. Yeah, thanks. As they'll take on the Brooklyn Nets. Also tonight, about half hour to the start of that one, a game that they should win, despite being on the road for their 3rd consecutive game. But then it gets tricky with the Toronto Raptors at home. Usually a matchup that you might favor the Celtics to win because they kind of have the Raptors' number in the Garden. But the way things are going, you don't have any guarantees really. And then you'll finish off the week with Memphis and Atlanta on Friday and Saturday, respectively, in a back-to-back there.
Yep, and really, honestly, I don't remember what I was going to say.
Oh, good.
Let's go. Oh, actually, great job scheduling NHL and NBA.
Because they're at the same time?
Another conflict. I don't think I've seen as many Bruins and Celtics games conflict as I have this season.
Right. Yeah.
That's just something there. A little gripe.
That's true. Wednesday, have the both teams play at the same time, just like they're tonight.
I think there was a stretch from October to like November or something. There was like 9 straight games conflicted. It was crazy.
Jeez. Well, that's the problem you get when you got too many good sports teams in Boston. You don't know which ones to watch. Anyway,
Bruins.
So yes, Celtics still with their fair share of problems, and it's just tough to know which way this team is going. But it definitely seems like there's nowhere to go but up at this point. Just all the drama that it seems to be going around the team. But it seems like they're taking it in stride a little bit. We see Brad Stevens kind of joking around in a press conference about it. It's tough. You like to think that they're gonna get control of it, but then at the same time, you never know really. Just the way that this whole season has played out, such a wild card that it has been, or just a mixed bag of results. It's definitely tough to predict. Anyway, on that vague note, we'll move along to the Boston Red Sox. Not too much news as it is, right in the middle of the off season here. But the Sox did sign a lot of players to avoid arbitration, including Mookie Betts, Xander Bogaerts, JBJ, Eduardo Rodriguez, Brock Holt, Sandy Leon, Matt Barnes, Brandon Workman, and Blake Swihart, all of which gained 1-year contracts to avoid arbitration.
Bravo. Now you're going to have to deal with the Mookie fiasco next year again.
Yeah, the Mookie's the biggest one there because it seems like he's always struggling with his contract with the Sox.
Does he get arbitration next year, or is he unrestricted?
Couldn't tell you.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe he's unrestricted next season.
Huh.
Which could be bad.
Yeah.
I got it right here. Oh, no, he's got arbitration one more time next season. Arbitration 3, whatever that means.
I see. All right. Well, I mean, on the positive side of this, I think it's just good that you're getting the core of your team back. A lot of guys there that played a big role down the stretch for the Sox. I think keeping all those guys is definitely taking a step towards potentially back-to-back championships. I'm not predicting it, but I'm just saying it definitely helps your cause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Bro still unsigned.
Right.
I think the only thing between him and the Red Sox is money. He's not going to get 9 figures that he wanted. It's get it done, guys. Come on, we need a closer. We can't go into pitchers and catchers reporting without a closer.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if Nate Eovaldi becomes your closer, never know. No.
No.
Okay.
Unless you
Just
sign
toss it out
Ottavino.
there. What?
Unless you sign Adam Ottavino.
Oh yeah, he's still out there.
It looks like the Angels might be one of the best front runners for him.
Huh. Great, so that they can underachieve with the big names again.
Ryan Madsen, he was horrible against you in the World Series. You could go get him.
Oh God, he's old.
He's
right?
not a closer. Yeah, and he's not a closer. He's just a relief pitcher.
No thanks then.
Yeah, he's old and coming off a really bad season after having 3 good seasons. So there's Max Kellerman's cliff.
Okay. Well, moving on to some national news because there's not a ton else to touch on there with the Red Sox. I guess just a quick look around the NFL. We already mentioned the Patriots beating the Chargers, obviously. Talked about the Colts putting up a dud there in Arrowhead in the snow. Chiefs won 31-13. And then the NFC games, Rams won 30-22 over the Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? Out of the playoffs again. And then the New Orleans Saints sneaking out a victory over the Philadelphia Eagles 20-14. Any thoughts on either of those NFC games?
Well, it's just sad to see the legend of Nick Foles die.
Yeah.
How nice it was.
Most certainly his last game in an Eagles jersey, I would think, unless something.
Yeah, so it's either go to unrestricted free agency or they pick up next year's option and trade him.
Huh.
And then going to baseball again. I don't really have much to say on the other ones aside from Jason Garrett should be fired.
Yeah,
that is what he is. Do you have anything on them?
I mean, not really. It's just you had to see this coming from the Colts, and it seems like a team that is so ground dependent can only go so far because we see, with the Pats, the Chiefs, the Saints, and the Rams to an extent too, a lot of passing attack with those teams. Yes, there is a ground game to support them, the likes of Sony Michel, Alvin Kamara, Todd Gurley, C.J. Anderson now apparently, and whatever Williams on the Chiefs. Good ground games involved there, but just a team that relies on a running back like the Cowboys do with Ezekiel Elliott can only go so far, and I think they proved it once again. That's just the way the NFL is these days. But yeah, nothing too surprising with those results, other than it is sad to see the Eagles go out, especially the way they did after going up 14-0 and then being held the rest of the way to lose 20-14, including on a last-minute interception that went right through the hands of Alshon Jeffrey. Sad days there. Nick Foles out of Philly, probably. Most certainly, definitely.
Patriots bridge.
So you're still going to
that. To the next generation. Bridge to the next franchise QB.
No.
More on that another
Then you're
day.
paying him to be a backup for the next 3 years.
More on that on another day.
Okay. Yeah, we will skip that for today.
One more thing from the Philadelphia game. One, do we think Lane Johnson was having fun? Did you remember his comments?
No.
After the Super Bowl saying how the Patriots don't have fun, he'd rather take the 1 and have fun than the 5 and be robots.
Oh, that was him? Oh my
God. And 2, did you see the Saints post-game celebration in the locker room?
Yeah.
Eagles Grays playing Dreams and Nightmares.
Yeah.
Awesome. But back to baseball. Manny Machado White Sox have submitted their deal for 8 years and over $200 million.
Sheesh. The White
So
Sox.
there's that. White Sox
The
coming in hot.
irrelevant White Sox.
They're better this year. They're on the upswing.
Slowly.
Yep.
He'd make them very much better, though.
He would.
Much. Yeah.
Not the post, though.
I also had somewhat of a thought between the NFL and the MLB. Kyler Murray today declaring for the NFL draft after having already been drafted by the Oakland A's, and he said he wanted either $15 million from the A's or he was going to go to the draft. Clearly did not get that $15 million, and now he's definitely headed into the NFL because it seems like he'll make a lot more money there and have success quicker than he would have being part of the A's farm system. And it's just another example of the NFL just showing up the other American sports leagues.
So I would love for him to try and do both, but that just won't happen.
No, it can't.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But, Russell Wilson is going back to Yankees training camp this year.
Yeah, but I feel like the way this ended between Murray and the A's, it just seems like it was messy.
Yeah, so
he's asking for so much money despite being on a minor league contract.
So there's whatever point we get to where the A's give up his rights or trade it like the Rangers did to the Yankees with Wilson.
Yeah.
So there's whatever point we get there on that. And also, that was an interesting ultimatum for a guy that they took at 9, who was already a stretch at 9.
Yeah.
So interesting. And more in the NFL draft where Cliff Kingsbury, new head coach for not the Coyotes, different Arizona team, for the Cardinals.
Yep.
Back in October said he would take Murray at 1, and now he has the chance to do so, even though he's probably not one of the first round QBs, even though he could sneak into the first round now after how strong he played down the stretch, aside from losing to Alabama. But
yeah,
so interesting.
Yeah,
which opens up a trade path for Josh Rosen.
Okay.
That's just pure speculation. What the conversation we had about Rosen to the Patriots.
I mean, I don't really see it happening, and I don't know how the Patriots would have the assets for it.
Yeah, what do you
trade
give up?
for a potential franchise quarterback? I just don't see that happening. I don't even know if it's the right fit either, but yeah, it's so much of a pipe dream that I don't even know if it's worth discussing.
Yeah, that's it for me.
Okay, well, just one final national note here. Coming to the PGA and potentially reigniting the sport. Ho-Sung Choi will be playing at Pebble Beach in his PGA debut, and let me tell you, this guy is electric. Just look him up on YouTube. It's
something
incredible. It's incredible.
It's certainly something.
So it's basically he's a South Korean professional golfer, and he's got a legendary swing. It just puts his entire body into it and goes flying after he hits it, but it goes
got the helicopter finish.
Beautiful. And then he's got the celebrations to match it.
I haven't seen the celebrations.
Oh my gosh. I mean, you talk about Tiger reinvigorating the sport with his return? No, it's this
saying this guy's electrifying golf more than Tiger.
Oh my gosh, yes, he is.
Not. Absolutely not.
This guy is everything golf doesn't have right now.
This year, man.
What?
Tiger Woods is the favorite going into Augusta.
Okay, great. Because that's
no way Ho-Sung Choi is more electrifying than Tiger Woods.
Okay, but that's for like a nostalgic perspective. This guy though, because you're seeing all these young golfers come up, and they're all kids who grew up on a country club.
21-year-old Tiger Woods absolutely dominate the PGA and the Tour Championship.
Great. Tiger's good for a different reason, but I'm looking at this because
he is golf.
Okay, thanks. Got it. Jeez. This guy's good because you have so many young golfers coming up, and they all have the same swing, and they all look the same, and they all sound the same, and they all, they're all like just conservative in their actions, and they're just here to play golf because that's all they ever knew. This guy swings out of his shoes every time, and he celebrates after a 5-foot putt. What's not to like?
I mean, you saying everyone's the same?
Yeah.
Golf's
getting boring because they're all the same.
Yeah, everybody hits a mile except for Jordan Spieth, but Spieth still has celebrations.
Does he? Only on the big stage.
Celebrates. Do you remember when he
not every putt though?
He won the Travelers last year. Did the chest bump with Michael Greller?
That was nice.
Michael Greller throws the rake.
Okay.
And then we have Rory McIlroy hits the ball a mile, and also, not afraid to taunt you, not afraid to celebrate in your face. Same with Patrick Reed. Patrick Reed's Patrick Reed is good for golf for one thing only, and that's everybody hates him.
Yeah.
And then we have Justin Thomas, who plays so well and also celebrates. Everybody pretty much celebrates unless you're Brooks Koepka and you're the most boring player on the face of the planet.
Okay.
And
Yeah, the problem is he's like the future of golf, so that's bad.
Who, Koepka?
Well, just guys like him. These younger guys coming in.
Well, he's not that young. He's
No?
he's like McIlroy's age. He's like 27, 28.
Well, okay. Playing for another 20 years?
Yeah, I mean, he's like one of the few in that age that doesn't.
Okay.
That's just like a cookie cut robot.
I'm just saying, this
He's a
guy is
robot.
going to shake things up. It's going to be
Yeah.
beautiful.
He might. Will he have success? Maybe not.
No, no, but he'll
Absolutely
get people to watch.
Yeah, he'll
All
get
right, tell me
clicks.
you're not going to watch Pebble Beach just to see this guy play.
I usually don't watch Pebble Beach, and that gives me no reason to watch him.
Oh my gosh. That's going to be must-see TV when this guy takes the tee box. Just saying.
It'll be must see like Twitter clips and Instagram on foreplay, but
Yeah. All right.
I don't see many people tuning in just to see this guy swing once, laugh at it, and turn the channel.
That's a good point. Maybe if he does some damage there, if he makes a big splash his first round, and then you get people interested, who knows?
If he wins, then sure, I'll buy.
He won't win, but it'll be
wins,
amazing.
If he wins a meaningful tournament, if he wins at Pebble, yes. If he wins at like, I don't know, like this past weekend in Hawaii, if he wins there, no.
No. Alrighty, well, who knew that our biggest debate of the day would come on some South Korean golfer?
Ho Sung Choi.
Oh, such a legend in the making. Just you wait. Anyway, that will do it for today's episode of the Beantown Banter. One more thought. Okay.
Just be ready for a lockout in the NHL in 2020 or 2022.
Really?
Oh yeah.
People were saying there's going to be some kind of threat there in 2021 in the NFL because the coaches' contracts all seem to be ending around 2021, so there'll be negotiations in the process then.
Yeah, absolutely. For the NHL, though, it's going to happen. So in 2020, the league has the option to either keep the current CBA or drop it. And then 15 days after the league decides, the players' union has the same decision. And then either way, if they keep it, it runs out in 2022. And then by the time we have to negotiate a new CBA, it's all going to come down to hockey-related revenue. And it's going to be escrow, which nobody knows what that is. Players hate escrow. The league wants escrow. Everyone's going to blame Gary Bettman, even though I don't necessarily think it's his fault. He's just the front man for it, so he takes the blame.
This is all way over my head, but I'm sure in episode 200 of the Beantown Banter podcast, when we're breaking the news on this.
Junior or senior year, we'll be talking about it.
Okay. We'll come back to this episode then. Episode 17.
If it's 2022, we won't even be here. We'll be graduated by that September.
It's a good point. Emotional times.
So it'll have to be junior year.
Anyway.
Right, give us something to talk about, NHL.
Yeah. Woo. And yeah, speaking of college things, we're finishing up our little winter break here, so we'll probably be back recording on campus next week. So we won't have to deal with just the Skype audio. We'll have the nice, fancy microphones there.
I don't think the audio's been that bad. I think it's been pretty good.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think it's done the job.
Or solid. All right, solid.
That's right. Anyway, that will do it for this episode. So, as always, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, guys.